What is going on, boys? So today I wanted to speak on something I have not brought up on this channel in years now, and that would be Star Wars. I'm sure a lot of us remember when The Force Awakens came out. I myself remember leading up to the movie's release thinking this movie and just Star Wars in general is in such good hands with Disney because I saw what they were doing with Marvel. And I had absolutely been obsessed with Star Wars as a kid. Revenge of the Sith being the first Star Wars movie I got to see in theaters and just being absolutely mind blown. Now, at the time of Force Awakens, I was a lot younger. I mean, it's been over 10 years now, and I didn't understand all the things I know about Disney that I do now. I did not understand the handoff from George Lucas to Kathleen Kennedy. All I knew was I loved Star Wars, I loved Anakin, and I loved the look of Kylo Ren. And I just didn't know much about this movie or what to expect. I don't think anybody did because the trailers were very mysterious, and I remember thinking Finn was going to be the lead and the newest Jedi, and I couldn't wait for that because I thought a stormtrooper being force sensitive and then turning into a Jedi would just be insane. I go opening night, and one thing I'll never forget probably in my life is how insanely lit that theater was throughout the entire film. I have never since then, not even with Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home, all these crowd pleasers, I have never had another movie experience like that. People were just going crazy, and it was amazing. It was just an amazing experience. And I bring this up because I think there's a huge difference in the hype and just demand for Star Wars between then and now. We have Mando and Grogu that has been out now for a couple weeks, I believe approaching its third. This is the first new Star Wars film to be released in 7 years, and it's crazy to even say that because it just feels like not too long ago everyone was talking about the sequel trilogy and just all the issues with that. Now, Mando and Grogu was rightfully assumed to be a disappointing flop. We are now, like I said, a couple weeks in to release, and I think it's safe to say the movie has completely flopped for Star Wars standard. Now, I know the ratings aren't actually that bad. Let's take the Rotten Tomatoes score, for example, which usually I like to take with a grain of salt. What was interesting to me is the popcorn meter, being the fans, actually having a higher score than the critic review. You have the critics giving this a 62% and the audience giving it an 87%. So there are seemingly many people that did not think the movie was awful. You know, I see a lot of words like fun, enjoyable. I mean, to be honest, I went through the fans' reviews and there wasn't anything there that made it seem like this was anything game-changing. Nothing really consequential here. Just a fun movie, I guess. Now, I myself haven't seen the movie, and this video is not me pretending to have, nor is it a review of the movie. But what I see most from independent creators, which is always my go-to rather than relying on critics, it seems boring. I've seen people say it's just like 3 filler episodes of the show put together. And from the box office perspective, it has not completely flopped, but for Star Wars' standard, it has completely flopped. Just looking at the numbers, you can compare this to the previous movies from Disney, and it's just embarrassing. Only thing it'll probably do better than is Solo, which is not an achievement in the slightest. Now, whether you like the movie, hate the movie, the numbers are what they are, and you don't have to care about it as a Star Wars fan. You can love this movie and not care what other people think. And that's kind of what I recommend in any, aspect of life. But Disney does. Disney only cares about those numbers, nothing else. And let's be real, they knew what this was. They knew it was gonna flop. They didn't release a trailer until like 1 or 2 months before release. They knew anyone that was gonna watch this movie would probably watch it no matter what. And they knew everyone else that normally wouldn't might get dragged in by their kids or something like that, because it really does come off as a generic family fun movie, especially because of Grogu. Now, this sucks because you have a large portion of people who would love to go watch a new Star Wars movie, but they won't until they've gotten something worth spending money on, which I completely agree with, and is the reason I myself didn't go see this movie, because it just looks completely dull. I have no interest in anything having to do with Grogu because all of it just seems extremely inconsequential and pointless. Now, don't get me wrong, I watched Mando season 1 and thought it was dope. Season 2, I thought it was cool. Watched Book of Boba Fett, and the Mando episodes were clearly the only thing worth watching in that entire show. And then I watched season 3 and thought, okay, I think this is getting kind of whack. Why the hell is Bo-Katan seemingly the main character in this show? Why is she getting the saber? I mean, I know technically she did earn it, but then it's like, okay, I'm just not interested in that. So why would I not give 2 fucks about seeing this movie? Well, because I just don't care about Star Wars anymore. And you know what? They don't care about me either. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. We spent many years of Disney blaming the audience, scolding the audience, shitting on the canon, and pretty much ruining this franchise, which may have felt impossible. And I think that's really what it comes down to. I think they understood the love for Star Wars ran so deep that even people they were shitting on would give just about anything they release a chance because they wanted so desperately to consume Star Wars content. And I'm proud to say that way of thinking has completely blown up in their face. Now, I'm not looking to make fun of anyone that still loves Star Wars, loved the Acolyte, loved this new Mando movie. But I do wonder, what could Disney do to Star Wars at this point that would turn you off? Because it seems in many different communities and fan bases, you'll just have these people that love everything and just will stick by Disney no matter what. Now, to be fair, I believe these people are the ones that Disney has tried very hard to cater to while turning off the rest of their fans. And these turned off fans have not only gotten mid or bad Star Wars content to consume, but have also been blamed for the failures of these mediocre productions, whether that's something like The Acolyte or that absolute dog shit Ubisoft Star Wars game. In my opinion, these are the fans that should have actually been catered to the whole time. These are the ones that will actually make the studio money, and I believe general audiences fall more into this side of fandom, like the way they think, than the fans that were saying Mando and Grogu was going to make $2 billion. The way I see it is these are the people who really love Star Wars, because when you really love something, or someone even, you're not afraid to say when they're doing wrong, when they need to improve, because all you want is for that thing or person to be at their absolute best, because you love them. But you have these people who eat slop, that see everything as a gender war, a culture war, a political party split, and all that sort of stuff, who just stand by their mediocre content for that reason alone. I mean, you look at The Acolyte, something that was being heavily defended. The fans of that show were mocking other Star Wars fans that didn't like it. There was just so much drama around that show. What ended up happening? It got canceled. So what does that tell us? I believe just like with Marvel, Disney has given up on catering to this type of fan in their Star Wars content. You know, like I bring up Marvel, this is why they brought back the Russos and RDJ to give us Doomsday. And from all accounts, it seems like we're going back to formula, finally, because they spent years in a slump giving us dog shit. And it's like, you can see it's dog shit. I mean, I'm an insanely huge Marvel fan. This channel does not exist if it weren't for my love of Marvel. And all I want is to talk about how good the movies are, how great the shows are. But again, I'm not going to accept garbage, you know, just because I'm a fan of the universe or for any reason, quite honestly. I mean, if it's bad, it's bad. And I will demand a better product if they want my money. Simple as that. I mean, you can look at my catalog, bro. There's like a 2-year gap. And it's because I had nothing to talk about, bro. It's because everything that was coming out was shit. And I didn't want to just be like a mini nerdrotic, or, you know, I didn't want to just shit on things all day, you know what I mean? But back to Star Wars, they fired Kathleen Kennedy, but it's only about 10 years too late. I mean, Mando comes out and it's a flop. So I just think to myself, where do you even go from here? One thing I've always wondered was, why don't they simply just give us the things they know everyone loves? We all love Vader. Why have we not gotten any Darth Vader focused content at all? Kenobi does not count, because in the end, the show was all about Reva, which is an example of the bullshit they've been throwing at us. Like, are you serious? This just seems like an easy win, but at the same time, you know, you gotta thank God they didn't get a chance to ruin Vader, so maybe it's actually a good thing that that never happened. Disney is in such a hard place right now with Star Wars, man, because truly I think in the end, I forgot who I heard say this, but Star Wars is a Skywalker story, plain and simple. You know, I fell in love with Star Wars through my love for the Anakin Skywalker character. Older generations probably got in through their love for Luke and Vader, but now those stories are over. And no, I don't think Rey Palpatine is going to be a good continuation of the Skywalker story. Honestly, maybe Kylo Ren would have been, but regardless, that story is over. And sure, there are ways that they could potentially continue that story, but especially after firing Kathleen Kennedy, there's just no way that's going to happen. One thing I suggested a couple of years ago on this channel was that they should completely get rid of the idea that everything they drop related to Star Wars fits into the canon. I think this is extremely limiting and stops us from getting really cool video games, really cool TV shows, just good content in general, because everything has to fit into this canon, and it's like eventually there's just nothing left to tell that's compelling. Now, I know I said it's a Skywalker story, and even though we may not be able to get back to that, it doesn't mean all hope is lost necessarily. I think at this point they need to maybe just go to an even further galaxy longer ago and give us a brand new story, maybe one that rhymes with the original just to play it safe. And honestly, 100% it has to be a male lead. Now, you can get upset with me saying that it has to be a male lead, but seriously guys, if you love Star Wars, you got to put that to the side if it bothers you and just accept it, because that gives them a higher chance at being successful. And from there, tell all the female stories you want as long as they're good. Obviously, I don't have like that perfect answer. I don't know what the fuck to do. I mean, they've dug themselves a hole that's so deep that, you know, we might be witnessing the beginning of a series of events that end up in them selling off Star Wars to someone else. I mean, who knows at this point? Truly, I only want what's best for this franchise. I'm really interested in what your ideas are on if it's even possible to bring back Star Wars from the dead, because if we're being real, bro, this shit died years ago, man. Peace.